MEND is a nonprofit organization founded approximately 5 years ago by Harvard professor David Edwards. Our mission is to expedite the creation and long-term availability of badly needed drugs and vaccines for diseases of poverty that affect some of the poorest people of the world. We do this by applying new and emerging technologies to candidates at two key but very different points in their development timeline. The first application is the critical bridge that connects groundbreaking discoveries in the laboratory to the testing that's needed in clinical trials. The way a drug or a vaccine is formulated at this point is particularly critical because it generally determines all of its future physical characteristics, such as route of administration, stability, cost, and even safety and efficacy. Proceeding with a suboptimal formulation may even cause the candidate to fail or continue in a way that makes it very difficult or costly to implement in a developing country. The second application that we focus on is selecting drugs and vaccines that are currently available in the US and Europe, but require some technical intervention to make them more suitable for developing world environments. This may often make their efficacy better as well. Three prime examples of the way we do this are firstly, eliminating the need for refrigeration or freezing. Secondly, making formulations that don't require injection or hypodermic needles. Thirdly, making the cost of a product cheaper to manufacture. One of the ways that MEND is an innovator, and different from some of the other nonprofits and research NGOs in the global health space, is our business model, which is designed to allow us to operate without relying permanently on charitable contributions. At MEND, we see an opportunity to disrupt the status quo based on two fundamental and recent step changes in the global landscape: emerging technologies and emerging markets. First, technology. Rather than building a static brick and mortar type of arrangement, a very important part of MEND is the growth and cultivation of a broad and dynamic virtual network of technology practitioners, literally hundreds of them from academia and industry. These practitioners are involved in a wide variety of traditional disciplines, everything from nanoparticle engineering to microelectronics to systems biology, even rocket propulsion. And they're often more than happy to learn that their particular technology may advance an altruistic cause and have a positive societal impact. This crowdsourcing approach allows us to select the most promising technology and pair it to the need, working with the inventor to reduce it to practice in the most efficient way possible. Often this is under controlled conditions in our laboratories, either in Boston, Massachusetts or Pretoria, South Africa. This also means that we can tackle some of the toughest pharmaceutical challenges and bring forward cheap and effective drugs and vaccines that would have been considered intractable or impossible even just a few years ago. The second fundamental change in the global landscape refers to the evolution of emerging economies, those primarily of China, India, Russia, and Brazil. These markets are evolving public and private healthcare systems that can potentially provide a reasonable financial return for the treatment of the same infectious diseases that have been crippling least developed countries for decades. Combining these two factors defines MEND's market-based approach to global health. First, we generate new intellectual property by finding innovative ways to make improvements to new and existing drugs and vaccines. We then typically license the IP and products to companies who are interested in pursuing profitable sectors of emerging markets, and in some cases, even translate the IP for use in developed countries. In return, these companies also commit to provide access to the same products for least developed countries at or near cost. Any return or royalties we receive as a result of these licenses goes back to fund our charitable mission. As these returns increase, our reliance on philanthropic funding decreases, our goal being to ultimately become entirely self-sustainable. Naturally, MEND's motivations are a little bit different from a for-profit startup seeking economic concessions or an incubating environment. Instead, we put a priority on locating innovation and partnering with local entities in the countries that have the greatest need. This is why a significant proportion of our science is conducted in our labs in South Africa. South Africa itself is not a least developed country, but does have a high burden of tuberculosis, HIV, and other neglected tropical diseases. South Africa offers us an excellent balance between being close to the high burden countries that need these therapies, as well as having a stable enough infrastructure that we can conduct the complex science that needs to happen without fear of interruption. At MEND, we take a very pragmatic approach to our mission. The only metric that really matters to us is the introduction of a new or improved vaccine or drug to least developed countries and the improvement of the health of the populations there. Our most advanced compound is a new form of a drug called caprimycin, typically used for multiple drug-resistant tuberculosis. Through the appropriate application of technologies, we have eliminated the need for refrigeration, can manufacture it more cheaply than its previous form, have eliminated the requirement for hypodermic needles by use of an inhaler, and perhaps most excitingly, may have the potential for decreasing the duration of treatment, which currently lasts up to 24 months. We also have other projects in our portfolio that receive comparatively less attention. For example, rotavirus infection, which causes diarrhea in children and is responsible for upwards of 600,000 deaths per year. And also pandemic flu, for which the consequences of an outbreak in the developing world are hard to fathom. On behalf of our team, the board of directors, and our founder, David Edwards, we appreciate the recognition afforded to us by the World Economic Forum and hope that this video might inspire and energize others to join us in improving global health.